I feel like with the algorithms, I don't know about YouTube as much, but with TikTok and Instagram, like so much of my like formative time doing this, I was just chasing after like, okay, I just got to do it right. I got to please Lord Algorithm on his throne of floppy disks. Like it's just, it has to be perfect. Like I have to do it at this time, and I have to do this thing, and I have to like write this copy, and then like put it off the screen so that like and like, let me just say to everybody out there that's trying to make short form content, it's a shit show. It's a crapshoot. There's no way you're going to game the algorithm. You're not supposed to game the algorithm. That's the whole point of the algorithm, is that it can't. That's why I always encourage people to just like do what feels the most comfortable for you, that you're the most excited to make, and just take as many steps as you can to make the process more efficient and more fun, and talk to people, get to know your other content creators, because chasing the algorithm is just going to drive you nuts. Like it's really like you're going to be constantly trying to like make sure you're posting at the right time and all this stuff. And it's like, good content, if it's sticky, it'll stick. Like that's just, I've seen so many videos that have no hashtags on them, nothing. And it's just a really cool thing that I'm looking at, and that's what's doing it. But people engaging with something, sharing something, that's your bread and butter.
What is up, everybody? You're listening to episode 119 of SFF Addicts. I'm your host, Adrian M. Gibson, and welcome to your weekly dive into the world of science fiction, fantasy, and writing craft. Joining me, as always, my co-host, the Chewie to my Han Solo, the Joker to my Commander Shepard, MJ Kuhn. How's it going, MJ?
Hello. I am doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. You got Thorin with you.
I know.
He's
I was
joining
going to say,
from the get-go.
my own co-pilot jumped up right when we hit record.
What's up? You're cheating on me, but it's okay. And if anyone wants to support MJ and Thorin, you can pick up MJ's debut novel, Among Thieves, The Blue Baby. Get yourself some thieving action. It's just also part of a duology, The Tales Up to More, if you want to get Thick-Ass Thieves, book number 2, and just get all that fun stuff and support MJ and support her cat. He's hungry, so go feed him.
He's hungry. He needs treats.
He needs treats.
You can also support Adrian and his, human babies.
There you go.
Pick up Mushroom Blues for your dose of fungal punk noir goodness. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, support my child.
Feed the children.
Feed the children. This is getting so dire at the beginning. I promise I feed my kids. As well, a quick note for everyone out there listening or watching, the SFF Addicts Patreon and merch store are live, so check the links in the description to support what we do here. Also, don't forget to rate and review the podcast on your favorite podcast app, and subscribe to the FanFiAddict YouTube channel, where this and every other episode of the show is available in full video. Also, just a quick shout out to our newest patron on Patreon, Kappa Detated. Not the real name, but a really fucking awesome name.
Fantastic.
Right. And now for our very first masterclass panel for old listeners of the show. This is a throwback to the panels I used to do before MJ joined. The idea is that every once in a while, we're going to delve into topics a bit more outside of our usual wheelhouse, bringing on a trio of guests to discuss them with, which is why today we're excited to welcome Evan Leikam, aka Book Reviews Kill, Mike from Mike's Book Reviews, and Kayla from Kay's Hidden Shelf onto the show, where we'll be getting into the nitty-gritty of content creation, especially as it relates to books and SFF. Welcome, you three. How are you doing?
Living the dream, baby. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you.
An absolute pleasure. We are living the dream today. So to kick off this panel, let's go around. I'll have each of you introduce yourselves a little bit, along with a quick rundown of the kind of content that you make. So Kayla, we'll start with you.
Yeah, my name is Kayla from Kay's Hidden Shelf. I shout about books. That's the best way to go about it. I talk about books I read, books I want to read on YouTube and various social media platforms, from fantasy, sci-fi, and whatever looks like it'll be a fun read. So yeah, that's quick and easy little pitch.
Perfect.
I'm Mike, and I'm a Leo, and I enjoy long walks on the beach and reviewing Stephen King books on YouTube for some reason. But thank you so much for having me on, man. I've been a listener for a minute, and I've been like, man, I wonder if I'll ever get asked to be on there. So I'm glad it has happened. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Very, very pleased to have you here. Evan, we'll close out with you, if you can do a little intro.
Sure. Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Evan. I run Book Reviews Kill. Mostly I make content on Instagram and TikTok, but I also have a podcast called Book Reviews Kill. And I also run a podcast with Daniel Green called Good on Paper. And I'm also publishing books with Tor Books. And my first book comes out in May of next year.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
Cool stuff happening.
Anji Kills a King, right?
Mm-hmm. That's the name of it.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that.
I'm very stoked for that, yeah.
We should be getting a cover here soon. So,
Ooh.
yeah, I'm just waiting for that email.
Dude, exciting.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my gosh.
congrats on that deal, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really exciting.
Before we dig deeper into the episode, a quick word from our sponsor.
Bren Caius is a living legend, the greatest warrior of her age. But much of her legacy is a lie, fabricated by those in desperate need of a champion. As High General of Aemon, Bren has grown weary of commanding a dwindling army against the Knoll warlord Kret Bonebreaker and his fearsome legion. Amidst the bloodshed, she must lead her soldiers to victory while contending with a disloyal advisor, a mysterious prophet, the cruel ambitions of nobles, and ghosts from her past. The fate of Aemon rests upon a single epic battle, one of fire, steel, and magic. Can Bren stand against the darkness and become the hero she's expected to be? War of the Hounds is a gripping tale set in the world of the Dryad's crown and based on Shakespeare's Henry V. It's the story of Bren's greatest triumph and her most heartbreaking failure. War of the Hounds is available for free. Visit thatdavidhopkins.com and sign up for the Epic Fantasy newsletter to receive a free download of this ebook.
And now, enjoy the rest of this episode of SFF Addicts.
Well, let's dive a little deeper into what we're doing, what we do here when we do content creation. Let's talk about why each of you got into it. Because it's not like, oh, that's what I'm picking to do in third grade. I'm going to be a book content creator, right?
Dude, I mean,
That's what we hated.
I guarantee
Book
now-
review. I'm not doing a book review. Yeah.
I guarantee you now
Exactly.
there are kids in like fourth grade who are like, I'm going to be a social media influencer. or a
Oh,
content
right.
creator."
100%
Like,
there
now
are. Oh
for
my gosh,
sure.
I used to volunteer at a library, and I remember there was a girl that said I want to be an Instagram influencer was like her thing. So no, but we're old, okay? That was a thing when we were kids, okay?
We're dreaming of things that don't even exist yet.
Right. So
I'm like, what the
how
hell is
did we
that?
all get into this, right? How did you start to get into content creation to begin with? And then how did books become the focus, or were the books first and then you wanted to create content around them? Let's start with Mike this time.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I actually podcasted for a while before I did this because big sports fan, and I was frustrated with sports radio being nothing but commercials all the time. So I could do this, and I can say fuck a lot. And that's kind of how I was when I was in my 20s. I was excited about this. So I thought, hey, a little bit of cutting edge. You don't have to worry about sponsorships or anything. Say what you want. So I did that for a long time. And then I kind of moved to like talk about, movies and TV shows and comics, and did that with a co-host for a long time. But he never read anything that I read. And so I said, well, I'm just going to start doing this book review thing like on the side. Why not? Just get it out there. Had no idea that this whole Booktube thing was a thing until I started getting comments, people being like, hey, check this out. I was like, what are you talking about? There's something where people actually talk about books on YouTube. This is a thing. And it just kind of was a happy accident. And what do you know? Now I don't do any of those other things. And I do just this. So really wow.
And you still say fuck. So it's great.
Yeah. I try not
That's
to
the
as much because,
YouTube does
your channel gets over a
does
certain
penalize a little
amount
bit.
and you'll have someone be like, oh, I can't do this anymore because you said fuck. It happens. So
I'm
I
watching
wait
your
till I go on
content
other
with
people's
my
channel and I
kids.
say it a lot.
Oh my god. All right, Kayla. I don't know. We can
Yeah.
also just kind of make it freewheeling too.
I've watched Booktube specifically starting around 2019, I think it was. And, love getting the book recommendations, was trying to get back into reading more and finding those books that I might enjoy more. Because fantasy here where I live is not a big thing. There's not many people locally who will read that. I tried looking for book clubs, could not find people with similar reading tastes at all. And the internet is a wonderful place when it wants to be in that regard, and finding people with interests and hobbies. So that was wonderful. And as time went on, my husband kept pestering me saying, you could do that. You could totally do that. Nothing. Just do it. Just try. I put that off for a long time until I think 2022 is when I finally decided, all right, I have no more excuses. I'm going to start a channel. And it was right when I decided to leave my job to be a stay-at-home mom. I was like, I've got some time, baby naps. I can, put out a video and like figure this out. And yeah, that's how that started. And now I make a ton of videos, and I question my sanity a lot. That's how I balance it all.
That comes with the territory.
Yes.
Especially as the kids get older and you're like, oh shit, you require way more attention.
Yeah,
You're
we've dropped
mobile
nap
now.
time.
Yeah. I need to do a
Nap
podcast
time's
to
gone.
feed you.
That's right.
Okay, we started doing our things around like, I mean, I started in 21, but it was pretty much for the same reason. It's like, I'm a stay-at-home dad.
Okay.
I can do this now. Or like,
Yeah.
I'm going to try doing this now. And then it's
I
like,
guess I should add that I went back to school and I was home with the kids when my wife went back to work is when I did start this too. So
Well, there you
there's
go.
that.
Look at that.
So maybe there's a
There's a
thing there.
theme.
We're like, I needed some adult interaction. I was
Yes.
like, talking to 2-year-olds
Yeah.
is not fun.
100%. It's
This
like,
book cover is red. Can you see red?
no, but there is that element of like, I'm spending all day not dumbing myself down, but just like talking to a
Yeah.
different
It's
audience.
speaking at a different level. Yeah.
Yeah.
Different
Yeah,
audience.
yeah.
Yeah. So if I ever ask my audience, hey, do you need to go potty? That was not on purpose. It was an accident. It was habit at that point,
It's just a reflex.
just a reflex. It's
Oh my
potty time.
God.
All right. Evan, follow that up, bud.
Sure, yeah. So I've been reading fantasy books and sci-fi books since I was a kid, and fairly consistently. I was playing music for a long time there and had a little bit of a lull, but picked it back up in my early 20s. Super hard. Started reading all kinds of things, everything I could get my hands on, and I kind of noticed as I was getting through my 20s that I was really the only one of my friends that was reading as much as I was. Like, I could talk to them every now and then. If I would go to a party and like kind of corner somebody and be like, "Oh my God, you've read this Brandon Sanderson book? Like you're my friend for the rest of the night. Like we got to hang out." And I just noticed that I wasn't talking about it as much as I really wanted to. And I had like considered making YouTube channels and stuff. And I'm so lazy here in my heart of hearts. And I tried, and it was just so much work. And I was hanging out with my brother one day after like 2020, 2021 or something. And I had known about TikTok, and I just wrote it off as like this app where people dance, and it just wasn't for me, And he showed me this video of this guy who I wish I could remember the creator, because I would definitely shout him out. Because he's responsible for all of this. But my brother showed me this video of this guy who was like, "These are my top 5 favorite fantasy books," or something, and it was like a 50-second video, and I was like, I could totally do that. Like, if I can't make a 50-second video, and I just kind of went home that night and went for it and made the video, put it up on TikTok, and then went to sleep. And then when I woke up in the morning, a bunch of people had interacted with it, and I was like, "Hey, cool! Like, I can actually." This isn't that hard, and I can do a lot of it. And I was also unemployed at the time, getting those government stacks, So I was just like literally sitting at home with nothing to do, no kids either. So like I was making.
I'm totally jealous, man. I tried the TikTok thing and I just didn't get it. It was I turned into my parents the minute I went there, and people were like, "No, there's such a good place for books," and I'm just like,
Yeah.
But all these people are like dancing with their books and doing all these fun skits and stuff. I was like,
I'm
that's not
definitely
me,
not.
man. So yeah, I bounced after about a
You
year.
gotta
on
wait for
TikTok.
you gotta wade through it at the beginning. When you first download TikTok, they don't know what you want. The creepy algorithm hasn't read your brain yet. So it'll just throw a bunch of shit at you, wait and see what you
I
interact
can't
with.
say anything in 60 seconds. I ramble. Ramble way too much.
I shouldn't say anything for more than 60 seconds. So it was a perfect spot for me to be. But yeah, I mean,
Sweet
it's
spot.
definitely TikTok it's a weird app. Fighting with the algorithm is weird, but I mean, you're fighting with it on YouTube and Instagram
YouTube
too.
is crazy. So
Yeah. So I spent a lot of time trying to figure that out, and eventually I was just like, I'm just going to put up, whatever I feel like talking about. So that was lots of fantasy books, lots of science fiction, and I actually started getting much more into horror as I kept reading and just diversifying my genres and my authors and stuff like that. And it's been really great.
Well, you guys perfectly set this up. Let's talk about platforms.
Okay.
These wonderful platforms that fuck with our heads, but at the same time, they're like the only reason that we can do this stuff. So with so many platforms out there, I mean, like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, I think are probably the biggest three, aside from podcasting and how that kind of spreads across, Apple Podcasts and Spotify and whatnot. Um, Evan, you kind of dipped into it a little bit, so I'll let you elaborate. Like, what were some more of the decisions that you made when choosing that platform, choosing TikTok? Also, you've kind of easily like transferred your content to like Instagram Reels and all that kind of stuff. But how did that kind of play out in terms of you feeling like, okay, this is a good fit for me, and the kind of content that I wanted to create?
I mean, I feel like a lot of it is the audience response and engagement. So people responded very positively for the most part. I mean, you get weird comments every now and then. But I was very encouraged because people seemed to really want to bounce questions around and ask different things about what I was talking about. People wanted to engage and have discussions, even though on TikTok it was like you don't have a lot of character space in those comments, but you can still have some fairly decent conversations. And I was getting DMs asking me, what should I read if I've read Joe Abercrombie? And I was excited to have those conversations because I had never really had an unlimited supply of those conversations. Like I said, it was just
You
like
didn't need to
whenever I
find the
could get it.
person in the corner of the house
No, I
party
didn't.
anymore.
I was the guy in the corner now, and everybody wanted to corner me, which I was so fine with. But yeah, with TikTok and Instagram, I mean, it really is a laziness thing on my part. I didn't want to make YouTube videos. Like I tried, and I was like, I don't know how to edit video. I don't want to write out a script. I don't know. This is too much. Like this is way too much. I was watching Daniel Green in like 2016, 2017. And just like the amount of work he was putting into those videos, and he told me recently that he didn't ever script anything. It's just like, yeah, but you were doing some work, man. Like I know you were. Like don't try to fast it. Like I have enough trouble making a 1.5 minute like in-depth review of a book on TikTok. Like a 10, 15, 20-minute video on YouTube is a ton of work. So that's why TikTok and Instagram, it felt like this thing where I could kind of just pump content out, and it wouldn't have to be this thing I worked on for like 2 weeks and just hoped it did okay. I could make 2 videos a day, and if one of them tanked, it wasn't a big deal, and if one of them did really well, that was really cool too. And I had a lot to talk about. I had a lot of books that I had like a whole backlog of like a decade worth of me having been reading things, and so I had a lot of material. And after a while, you kind of start running out of ideas. You're like, oh, which book smells the best? Like, I don't know I don't know what video to make anymore, because you've made them all. But in the very beginning, yeah, it was really easy to just make lots of content and just kind of like throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what stuck. And then when I found, what people were really reacting to, so I would do like these. I remember once I read Revival by Stephen King, and I was like so excited about it. And then I reviewed it and it got like 1,500 views. And I was like, oh, nobody really cared about that at all. And then the next day I made like, these are my top 10 Stephen King books. And then I got a bunch of feedback from that and a lot of engagement. And I started realizing like, what people want to talk about, like variants and the subjects and just like small details like that. But I got there by making a lot of stuff instead of focusing on like one video for a few weeks that might do well. So that was the draw of it for me.
Well, let's go to the YouTube side of things, because Kay and Mike, that's your primary stomping grounds. Yeah. So Mike, for you, in terms of like some of the decisions, you said like coming from the podcast side of things, but why was, because you could have made like a book review podcast, but I don't know of too many book review podcasts that are like big in the way that you've been able to utilize something like YouTube. But how did that decision process go with YouTube?
I think with me, like I said, it was a happy accident. But the reason I decided to keep it here and not do like just switch it to the podcast was because with iTunes, the way it's set up, you don't have like the commenting system. So you could have loyal listeners and never know about it. They'd randomly maybe tweet you, maybe like, hey, I really enjoyed this or something. And you could look at your analytics and say, well, I'm getting like 400 or 500 downloads per episode. That's pretty good. But
Spotify does have comments now.
Yeah. See, at the time I wasn't. When I was doing it, I couldn't even get approved for Spotify back then. That's how strict it used to be. Now it's like, oh, are you alive? Okay, yeah, sure, come on in.
You guys both get in.
But it was I just wanted some interaction, I think. So when I had that happy action, like I said, I was like, whoa, I put out this video talking about me reading The Wheel of Time. And there's like all these people responding to me. I was like, this never happens. And so it was kind of that adrenaline rush of, I didn't care about making money off this. I didn't want to do this as a job. Never did. Still don't. To me, I just wanted interaction because I knew maybe one person in real life that even read fantasy books, much less read. Most of my friends are the I'll wait for the movie type, or what are you reading for? You know, not what are you reading, but what are you reading for? They were those types. And so to me, it was just like this adrenaline rush. Like, wow, there's people out there. Like, I don't have to do like I did back in the year 2002, where I was going to bulletin board systems to find someone who had read A Song of Ice and Fire. You know, that's how it used to be. And so it was like, wow, there's this whole community out there. And I never knew that. So that's why I stuck with YouTube, was because just, I think the reach is just out there a little bit more. Once I got past the fear of, oh, people are going to see your face and comments on your face a lot, or what shirt you're wearing, or, you know, how bad your lighting is, still is. But yeah, it was just, to me, it was just that I was able to engage with more people that way. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to feel like I was talking, you know, to someone, not at someone. That's what I kind of wanted to feel like. Felt like it'd be a conversation. So I encouraged people, you know, comments, and I would respond to everybody. That was kind of how I started things off. And it's what I still try to do.
Yeah. And your lighting's good. Don't worry too much about that.
Yeah, your lighting's great. Unlike me in my cave, I'm always in a cave.
My little troglodyte.
I know. My cave is less cave-like these days, but it's still pretty bad.
Kayla, what about you in terms of like why YouTube, or like some of the decisions that went into going with YouTube and how that kind of worked out for you as you were working through the kinks?
Well, YouTube was always a platform I watched personally. I prefer long form discussions. You know, thank you. Yeah, there's a time and a place for shorts if you're looking for a quick book recommendation or whatever it is, quick information. But long form discussion, I feel like you get better quality in terms of topics and people's insight into what they're talking about. So I always preferred that. The kinks that I needed to work out was I knew nothing about lighting. I knew nothing about cameras. Deer in the headlights, as soon as the camera went on, absolutely happened for me. And then editing was a whole thing. The most I used computers for was like Excel for work. You know, it wasn't a whole lot that I used computer for at the time. And so learning all of those things, but it was really worthwhile, I found, because like Mike, I like the interaction. I love going to the comments and chatting with people, but at the same time, it was a way of putting my thoughts together about what I had read. I found more value in reviewing books and verbally going through that process and sharing it, because if I found when I didn't do that, I was like, oh yeah, that was nice. Move on to the next one, like potato chips, right? And so being able to talk about it, get it off my chest and put my thoughts together and why I liked it or maybe why I didn't like it was a process that I really valued at the end of the day. Editing is still, you know, tricky. I'm still trying to learn everything about every process of this as I go through. It's like 2.5 years in and I still get, you know, deer in the headlights every now and again. But I think it's just a process you need to continue to grow with because the platform changes so much, the algorithms change so much. And even over the course of those years, you know, I not monetized. I don't make any money from this. I don't care about making money from it. It's just fun. But for that reason, I've also gone through and experimented with shorts. I've gone to Instagram, I've gone to TikTok just to see what is different, what shorts will do differently. It's great for jokes. You know, I found that at least on my channel. But yeah, it's been really interesting to look at, you know, the analytics in the background versus just having fun with it and seeing what comes out at the end of the day. But yeah, I love chatting about what I read, and I hope I get, you know, enough book recommendations to destroy my TBR for a lifetime, which I'm pretty sure has happened 2 years in.
It already happened to me the first year, I think, doing this.
Yeah.
You all have TBRs destroyed until death at this point, and the books keep coming out.
MJ was fine until she started podcasting with me.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Fuck,
Yeah.
I'm a mood reader. This is not good for me.
You know, I was barely even reading fantasy anymore before I started this channel. So that's where I was at. So, hey.
I'm running out of stuff. So you mentioned, Kay, a little bit about editing and how, well, I think all three of you mentioned something about editing. I want to talk a little bit about equipment. So like if someone was trying to get into this, right? Like, or when you first were getting started, what equipment, software did you need to invest in? How has that grown and changed, right? Like, did you get, have you found better equipment that, you're working with now? Like what do people need to know before they get started?
You don't need a lot when you're starting because you're starting something new. Like when I started, I didn't know if I was going to keep doing this 6 months in, let alone 2.5 years now, and I'm still going. Use your phone. Use a microphone you have. If you're not happy with your little like AirPods or headphones, whatever you have, mic, just go to Amazon and buy a $20 mic. It's at least something to get you started. But don't worry so much about quality when you're starting. I say that with a grain of salt, actually, because audio is the one thing I think people will be annoyed with the most. So if you want to, if this is something that you want to do for a while, put your investment in audio, but not to like a $700 mic. maybe something of decent quality around $100. That's basically where I started. I was sitting on the floor in front of my closet with my camera, my little phone camera, and little headphones, and terrible quality. Don't go back and watch those ones. But that's where I started.
That's the beauty of YouTube. They're all there.
Yeah.
They're
My
all
videos
there.
in 2019.
Exactly. I will not. I don't think I can ever go back and watch them. But it changed drastically over the years because as I was doing it, I was getting frustrated with I'm not where I want to be. I know I could get better lighting. I know I could get better at this. And I was in a position where luckily I had a budget to improve those things. So I upgraded the camera. I got like a little ring light. I got some Prime Day sales. I got some backlighting not too long ago for like $20. But I think the big thing is don't go out and buy a ton of equipment. Buy what you will use for quite some time and fits within your budget. If you have room to buy super fancy lighting, good on you. Kudos. But you don't necessarily need it.
Man, when I started doing this, I already had the audio equipment, obviously, with podcasting. So that was cool. But those early videos, I got this webcam I had for work. And the thing was, I was always like, I'm not doing this for a job. I'm not going to go buy some $500-$600 camera. I'm just having fun, And so once the channel started getting a little more popular, I think I got to like 10,000 subs before I finally said, okay, I'll go buy a nice camera because this webcam is really, really bad. It was really, really bad. And so it's kind of like when you have kids and everybody like, oh, I don't know if I can have kids. It's just so expensive. It's only as expensive as you make it, really. You go buy a newborn kid Air Jordans? No, you shouldn't do that. They're never going to wear them for longer than a couple of weeks, So it's like
have to feed them as much as they need.
Well, I mean, hey, nature provides, with mothers. I'll just leave it at that. Anyway, that's a whole different topic. I'm just saying that like you don't have to overdo it when you start. You don't have to buy the freaking Rolls Royce of freaking baby cribs. That's why I tell people to spend so much money on a microphone, a camera, lighting, all that stuff before they even start. And it's like, what if you start doing this? You don't see the success you want, and you quit. It's a big sunk cost when you first start. So yeah, I'm with Kay, start small, see if you got some energy to do this because, burnout in this is a real thing. It's a real thing. It can happen. It happens to a lot of booktubers came out and were really, really busy for like a year and then they just disappeared. Some of them are coming back though. So that's pretty cool. But don't sink so much into it at first. I don't think. I didn't. Like I said, I'm always upgrading stuff now because I feel like, okay, this has got enough of a community and effort for me behind it now. Like I can do things like go get these background lights that I just got like a couple of weeks ago, So I'm always looking to improve things. But when I first started, no, it's like I already paid for this Yeti microphone. That was like $100. I'm not spending more than that on anything else. That's how I was when I did it. So I'm glad to hear you say that, Kay. I see people like Theo who start their channel and it looks like a freaking professional studio. I'm like, How did you do that?
Every time someone comes out with this amazing setup, first video, I'm like, no, you need to have the crummy setup in the first
You
video.
gotta have the
That's
video.
awkward teenage years, damn it.
Yeah, where's the video of like your audio doesn't match your lips and stuff? That's what you need,
Yep.
man. It looks like you're recording from a cave, you know?
Yeah,
Natural
your
light.
audio sounds like you're in the bathroom with the echoes and the
You can hear the
reverb.
wind.
Sorry, Evan.
No.
Well,
yeah,
when
I
it
was
comes
gonna
to,
say
like
like
TikTok and
with-
Instagram, yeah, like I imagine your setup is like very flexible a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be if you've never done this before, you'd be surprised how much you could get done with your cell phone and a $15 ring light and something you're really excited to talk about. That's a lot already. I would say also with in addition to what Kay and Mike said, which I think is just completely spot on. If you are doing this for the first time or you're just getting into it, there is a lot of editing on the back end. You don't necessarily need to do like professional edits on every little thing. You don't have to get really that granular with it. But I would suggest, like, if you run into something that doesn't make sense, stop and go look it up. Like, just look it up. Take the few minutes to understand like what that means when that's happening. Because whenever you run into something or whatever you want to do, if you're making quite a bit of content, there are always ways to more efficiently edit your videos and cut down. It used to take me an hour to edit a 60-second thing because it was just all thumbs and I didn't know what anything meant. But now I can do it really quickly because I know the more efficient splits and how to duplicate things and replace things, and it makes for not only a better video, but you're a little bit less like hesitant to make another video because you're like, oh, the editing process. It's like if you're more familiar with it and more confident with it, you can actually start having fun with it. And it's actually really cool to see, you sitting there saying words about something and you're like, there's no way this is going to be good. But actually, yeah, you can cut all the fat off of that and then put music on it and subtitles and copy and like, boom, you've got a cool video, and it'll take it from this kind of weird, choppy, awkward mess that you usually are, and you can cut it all into something that people might actually engage with, and you can really do it with editing software, and you can do it much more efficiently with the tools that the software has for you. Just look it up if you start getting frustrated.
I think more my problem with editing is just these days, anything can be taken out of context. So I do 20-minute videos. I tell my wife for every 1 minute is 3 minutes of editing because I have to listen to everything I said and make sure it's nothing that someone can isolate and say, look what this guy said, because that can happen so easily. And the bigger your channel gets, you're going to find people who want to do that to you. Yeah. So I just go through and say, can anything I said be taken out of context? So I will listen to my 20-minute video and go through and cut the fat. But I try to do as little breaks as possible. I like you said, what Daniel said, I don't use notes. I've never used notes. Podcasting for a decade helped me with that whole gift of gab thing. So it's never been something that I have to make a lot of cuts with me. It's more just going through it and making sure I didn't say something that's going to be taken the wrong way.
Yeah, I think people are pretty surprised when they record with MJ and I, where we just do one take and I don't touch it. Because I'm like,
oh god,
yeah, I know. Evan's just like, fuck that.
I was like, why did I agree to come on this again?
I hate that.
I get so many people that are new to the channel that are like, how did you do that in one take? I was like, because I'm just talking. It's what I do.
But there is a kind of an interesting sort of differentiation between, I think, YouTube content and TikTok, Instagram content. Instagram content, I think, just because of the time limits, you have to kind of like compress you can't really leave spaces and you can just cut that shit out and just kind of like compress things into the most concise form.
It's a different type of audience, and I don't even mean the people. I mean, because myself, I consume a lot of YouTube long form content. I consume a lot of TikTok short form content. I'm gonna tell you right now, I will watch a 2.5 hour YouTube breakdown of something. I will not sit through a 3-minute TikTok, right? It's just, I'm in a different mindset, right? I'm looking for bite-sized shit when I'm on TikTok. So I think it is. It's a lot more, you have to be a lot more concise and a lot more polished or whatever in the short form. Whereas like we've talked about this before, Adrian, like with the podcast, and, we do publish on YouTube as well, but mostly, the audio. people are expecting it to be a little more conversational because it is long
Yeah.
form.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just like a slightly different animal. Yeah.
Right. And when it comes to the editing, like when I edit for the podcast, when it comes to video, it's like there are a lot of, I mean, depending on the hardware that you have, it's like if you have a MacBook, you've got GarageBand and you've got I think iMovie is like the free Mac video editor. You can do quite a lot with that. It's like if you record good stuff, those programs will work and you don't have to spend a dime on them. You know,
Damn, maybe I should get one of them then.
just use my Windows PC. But
Like, I had to buy Filmora. I had to buy a laptop just for live streaming, you know, so
it's all these expenses, man.
Yeah.
What if it bombed? What if it bombed, Mike?
Well, this was much, much later. Yeah, this was much, much later. Like, I used just the free version of Filmora for quite a while, you know, and now I've got like the paid version, which you get all the nice new effects and stuff that I don't use.
Yeah.
That I don't use.
But you could.
Yeah. I've always said that I'm going to be more that type where I'm a fixed camera angle. I'm not doing all the green screen, super crazy edit. No, that's not my style. There's people that are very good at that. Right. I mean, like think about Jay over at Capture Words where he does. People like, why don't you do stuff like that? I was like, because I don't know how to do that. That's
right.
You know.
This touches on something that Evan said. It's like you can teach yourself a lot of this stuff just by we're publishing stuff on YouTube. We're publishing stuff on different platforms. Go look up tutorials on those very platforms. Because YouTube, I said, I don't know how to use Premiere Pro. And I basically had the audio and the video of the first episode that I recorded for SFF Addicts. I just downloaded tutorials. Like I just like pulled them off of YouTube for how to edit audio, how to edit video with Premiere Pro, and basically had a 9-hour flight to Spain and taught myself how to do both.
Tell people all the time in finance, like you don't know everything about Excel, man. There are basically college level courses on YouTube. Right. Use this resource. It's free.
My gosh, I was like the Excel wizard at my last job, and I don't know shit about Excel. I just was good at Googling things.
Yeah, right? There's nothing I don't know. Hey, what's your favorite function? I don't know. Let me Google it and I can figure it out for you. It's not hard, you know?
Yeah. And even like there are a ton of apps. Like Evan, what kind of apps do you use to edit? There's one that my sister-in-law showed me called CapCut, which is really good for like captions, subtitles, all that kind of stuff. But also
CapCut's pretty decent. Typically what I'll do is I'll record like one take, you know, and I just don't restart the video or anything, and I just go for it. And you know, it makes the editing on the back end a little bit tedious sometimes because I'm just kind of like digging through, you know, me starting a sentence 4 times in a row, but I get it eventually.
You get that.
But yeah, I'll use CapCut for audio production. For podcasts, I use Logic Pro, which is just like a beefed up version of GarageBand.
And you've got your background in music, so you're familiar with that as well.
Totally, yeah. Logic is like the most user friendly, in my opinion, the most user friendly DAW. So I would recommend if you don't have a MacBook and you're trying to do audio, Reaper is also really good. It's like a totally public, whatever it's called. You do have to like tell them you're like thinking about buying it, but it's just like a loophole. Like they know that no one's buying it.
You could be thinking about it just for a very long time.
You're still trying it all out for 4 years.
We're all thinking about buying it right now, technically.
I have found that so it's weird because TikTok has like its own in-app editing thing. But okay, so I don't want to put on my tinfoil hat here, but here it goes. So TikTok had.
We're 35 minutes in. We need a conspiracy theory.
Cool. Okay, so TikTok had a great in-app. Well, not great, but it was a very passable, pretty decent in-app editor. And then I think they were in cahoots with CapCut, though. So they dumbed theirs down and made it really frustrating. So you have to go use CapCut, you know, because CapCut is very easy to like, you know, you can like zoom in on a clip and then like split exactly where you want it and just all that stuff that you want to do. And TikTok, I feel like was that, but now it's more like just do it in CapCut.
Clunky,
and then Instagram used to be really horrible, but now it's actually pretty good. Like
Instagram will kind of penalize you in the algorithm from what I've seen if you're not doing the editing in Reels. Now.
It's so funny. Like I don't want to go off on too big of a tangent here, but I feel like with the algorithms, I don't know about YouTube as much, but with TikTok and Instagram, like so much of my like formative time doing this, I was just chasing after like, okay, I just got to do it right. I got to please Lord Algorithm on his throne of floppy disks. Like it's just, it has to be perfect. Like I have to do it at this time, and I have to do this thing, and I have to like write this copy, and then like put it off the screen so that like and like, let me just say to everybody out there that's trying to make short form content, it's a shit show. It's a crapshoot. There's no way you're going to game the algorithm. You're not supposed to game the algorithm. That's the whole point of the algorithm.
People, you figure it out. Wait 5 minutes. They're going to change it.
That's exactly. It changes so fast.
So like what I've found is like I stopped worrying about it. It's just like, just make the stuff that you like, make the stuff that's interesting to you, make the stuff that's honest for you that you can actually have fun making, throw it up. If it goes with the current, that's awesome. And if it gets picked up and goes viral, that's stressful. I almost actually kind of prefer it not to go viral, because like sometimes it's just like, now it's in this whole other corner of the internet where everybody's mad at me.
Found the mean people.
Yeah, right. I found everybody that doesn't know what this is. Like that's why I always encourage people to just like do what feels the most comfortable for you, that you're the most excited to make, and just take as many steps as you can to make the process more efficient and more fun, and talk to people, get to know your other content creators, because chasing the algorithm is just going to drive you nuts. Like it's really like, you're going to be constantly trying to like make sure you're posting at the right time and all this stuff. And it's like, good content, if it's sticky, it'll stick. Like that's just, I've seen so many videos that have no hashtags on them, nothing. And it's just a really cool thing that I'm looking at, and that's what's doing it. But people engaging with something, sharing something, that's your bread and butter. You want people down in the comments, not necessarily arguing with each other, but it's fine if they do, like I'm not trying to make people argue with each other, but yeah, I mean, engagement is what's going to push it forward. Sometimes it's like 150 and everybody's screaming at each other.
Like watching the gladiators fight.
No, I'm not watching anything.
Kind of piggybacking off of that, something I do is I just say, I listen to my audience. If
totally,
I'm talking about this one bit of content and they're not watching it, I'm just going to take that as, okay, they're not really interested in this topic, so I'll move away from it. It's not as much as, oh, no, the algorithm didn't like this one. To me, it's just like, my channel got hacked like 3 months ago, and I've been on the dregs of the algorithm ever since, and I'm still trying to get back into it. But with me, always, it's just, I'm a big believer of, went to business school and give your audience what they want, So if I get a bunch of people asking me to do something, that's usually what that's the only reading I'm reading this hellscape of a book right now, is because so many people tell me how much they want me to read it, So that's I try to do what my audience wants. When you're done. A lot of people are like, well, don't let your audience control you. I was like, I don't think I let my audience control me, because I'm not making nothing but Brandon Sanderson videos, But I just, you got a big audience, and they're a lot really vocal about what they want you to do. Hey, give them what they want. If it isn't working out,
conversations are the fun part, right? That's what honestly, I think all three of you have said, is that the communication with the audience is the fun part. Sure. So if you're gonna have better conversations, if you're reading the kind of thing that if you make yourself into the person they want to corner at the party, to go back to Evan's story,
corner me.
That's why I'm like, look, I think I'm an extroverted introvert. Like, I love to do this, and I love to talk to people, I love to meet people, but like in a real situation, I'm like, that's a lot of people.
Please don't corner me.
I'm a social butterfly, and I can thrive in it, but inside I'm like, oh my God, there's so many people. I don't want to people.
That's how I felt after going to Worldcon. I was like, I am just.
That's the thing. I think I would really enjoy that for a day.
Yes,
and then it's like,
that's
too much.
Day 3 of a con, I'm just like basically
like I can track my photos and basically be like, here's me like hype. And then by day 3 or 4, I'm like, I'm just tired as fuck.
You can tell you're on fumes.
Yeah. I took a picture with Gareth Hanrahan, and I was so excited because I'm like, man, I haven't seen you this whole convention. And then I look at the photo, I'm like, I look like a piece of shit. Just like, I look so unhappy. Even though inside I'm like, Gareth, it's so good to see you. Okay, I wanted to get your take on what Evan and Mike were saying in terms of like the algorithm. And I feel like it's really difficult to sort of balance your personal sense of like originality and sort of like the things that you genuinely want to do and talk about versus like, oh, the platform deems this more viable than other things. And obviously, like, I feel every content creator out there has made a video where they're like, I'm so proud of this, and it just tanks. And you're like,
so many times.
Oh,
so many videos. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a big one.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
I'm so happy you all are agreeing about that because seriously.
Well, I have the word book reviews in my channel, and the
Right.
videos that consistently do the worst on my channel, book reviews. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Kayla.
Yeah. I think when it comes to the algorithm and I started the channel, I went into it with the mentality of if it floats, great. If it sinks, I tried, It's easy to fall into the panic when you're starting of, I need to research how this works. I need to know everything about posting hashtags and how everything works in the background. And as soon as you start looking that stuff up, you'll notice that you'll start getting recommendations for these videos that are like go viral in a week or 3 videos. And those
Get
videos
3 million
are,
followers in a week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I have. I don't.
Exactly. And those videos will have millions of views. And when I went into this, I looked that up for like 10 minutes and I realized it was just a crock. And I tried to focus on what I wanted to make in content, knowing that the quality was going to be pretty poor out of the bat and it would probably get better over time. At least I hoped it would. And I actually prefer my channel numbers to be small because I don't want to dip into the mean parts of the internet. I will say offhand, fandoms scare me. Absolutely. I tried reading Malazan and I'm planning to come back to Malazan, but don't get me wrong, these fandoms are amazing. But at the same time, I also had comments giving full spoilers for the rest of the series, even though I was on book 1. And I'm like, and they would be pages long. I'm just like, okay, replying to
Malazan fans just dropping
I was going to say, especially about Malazan. Yeah.
And great to see the passion, but I prefer being a smaller channel in that sense that I was getting overwhelmed with the amount of passion these people had for the series and the level of detail that they go into. And I think it's something when you start that you need to be aware of what your expectations are. Do you want to be a big channel? Do you want to be a small channel? No matter what you want, you're probably not going to get what you want down the road anyway. The people will decide because you're making these for other people, right? You're putting these videos up for other people to watch, to start a conversation. And I mean, you're always going to have mean comments. Luckily, I haven't had that many, but I've also made food content, making food from books. And there was one video I made a hot chocolate and I put whipped cream on top. And the comment was, wow, those are a lot of calories. You should probably work that off.
Oh,
and it's like, oh
no. Hell no.
It's like, fuck you. I'm going to put whipped cream on my hot
I did
chocolate.
the casual thing where I was like, I'm going to do some short while I'm getting coffee. And I had like this shirt I wear with pajamas. It's like this huge Degeneration X shirt that's like 20 years old. It's an XL from back when I was a big boy. And someone was like, wow, Mike, you've gained a lot of weight. And I'm like,
oh my God.
I'm wearing my pajamas,
Oh my God.
But it just goes to show that no matter how much you try and filter or whatever the case, you're going to find those people. Those people are going to find you. And when it comes down to the algorithm, just have fun with it. Don't stress about it. I've had moments with YouTube where it's like, oh, hey, your videos are getting hundreds of views and consistent and great. And then one week it's like YouTube does a wipe, 12 views, 10 views, barely anything. And then all of a sudden the next day it's like, oh, wait, no, we're back to the hundreds. You're okay.
It also would help if the YouTube studio wouldn't be so mean every time I go in there and be like, yeah, your audience isn't really interested in this shit. It's like, wow. Why are you so mean?
And it's like, oh, you didn't make as many videos last week. What's wrong with you?
If any of you who used Duolingo, there's so it's this language app and it has a little owl as its mascot and it pesters the fuck out. He's such a bully. He's like, hey man, I thought you were learning German. Where you been?
Guess we don't want to learn Italian anymore.
We don't care anymore.
I guess you want to be a dumbass.
No,
I got uncultured.
Dude, I'm married to a redhead and I got 2 young kids. I don't need a 4th person.
I don't need a green cartoon owl calling me an idiot every day. Be like, hey man, you're shit in the bed. You're not doing it. I mean, YouTube could get into that. Be like, come up with a little mascot that just pesters you. And
no, you'll be like, you'll be feeling
you.
good. You'll be like, video's doing okay. And then you're going to think it'll be like, 9th out of 10. Your audience isn't interested in this video. I'm like, man, God.
Hey, you were doing better last month than you are this month. What happened?
Yeah, all the time. You're all these red arrows down on your analytics. Red arrows. I'm like, dude, don't use red arrows.
Well, and it's hard too because we're often hard on ourselves.
Yeah,
especially when
we're
we're
our
starting,
biggest critics,
right?
no doubt. Yeah.
So we've got that voice in our mind already. We don't even need someone else telling us, especially YouTube and the angry little owl. But
suck at Duolingo.
Exactly. But when you're starting, if it's important to set your mentality. What do you want? Make the videos you want. I started making videos that I thought I had to because they were Booktube related, like TBR videos. I cannot stick to a TBR to save my life. My reading is just pure chaos, and I don't know why I bothered with it. And I just cut the series altogether because there was no point. People who comment be like, "What happened to that book you were thinking of reading?" It's back on the shelf.
Right?
I don't know what happened. It's judging
my
me.
mood changed.
I used to do my TBRs 3 months at a time, and I was like, that's just gonna get me in trouble. So I went down to 1 a month. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But I work in finance. I have to have that structure, or else I'll start like 18 book ones. Yeah. So
that's what I do. That's why I never finish a series, you guys.
That's why I'm so proud of you when you finish like The Expanse or something like that.
I know.
Like,
I did. I read all of The Expanse.
Yeah, I did that last year.
9 whole books. Be proud.
I'm so proud of you. I think something that's like really important, because Mike, you mentioned before that you don't think about this as a job. Kay, you're kind of approaching this as like, I'm not really monetizing this whole thing. And I think like when you get into content creation, and Evan, I want to get your take on how it works with like TikTok and Instagram and that kind of stuff, but how people can kind of approach doing content creation, whether it matters if you approach it like a job or if you approach it as something you're doing for the love of it, for the fun of it. Because it is really difficult to be like, okay, I'm going to put all this effort into something, and there's a possibility that I will receive some sort of kickback. And at the same time, there are certain platforms like Instagram and TikTok where there isn't that kind of kickback, but you can receive, books and other cool things from third parties that are not related to the specific app. If anyone wants to jump in on that.
Yeah, I can talk about my experience on the TikTok and Instagram end. So this is just my personal experience. I know that everybody just does money completely differently from everybody else, but typically the way that I was making money and still do make money off of TikTok and Instagram is a brand will approach me and say, "Hey, can you make a dedicated video? Just 45 seconds to a minute. Here's how much we'll pay you." Typically, I only will work for flat fees. So I won't do commission. I don't do any of that. Like, I'm not trying to sell a product. I'm just telling people about it. Like that's, if you want to, it's like, I think of it like I have a baseball stadium and everybody's sitting in this baseball stadium. I will hang up your sign, but I'm not going to sell your thing to everybody. Like they can make the decision. I'll talk about it, but I'm not going to be like, if you follow this link and click on this thing and I get 20% of every time you buy a gaming chair or like whatever. I don't do that stuff at all. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do, but I'm just so lazy. Like I don't want to work for another company, in that capacity. I will say it if you want me to, but anyway, typically I'll just take like a flat fee for something. It's not much. For a while there, I was kind of limping along. I was working in restaurants and I was making content and making advertisements. I'd do like 1 or 2 ads a month or something. And I would kind of like subsidize my income with that while I was working like part-time working at restaurants. But I was also writing books and I had a podcast going and I had channels to run and all that stuff and like a personal life and,
so lazy. Oh my gosh. You keep saying you're lazy. You're doing like 90 things.
I'm lazy in spirit. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a super
anyway.
productive sloth. Climbing all the trees.
But yeah, and then for a little bit there, I was like doing okay, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to quit my job and I'm going to do this full time. And then I did it full time, and it was, then again, this is just my experience, but I was really stressed out when I was doing it full time because if I went like a month without hearing anything from a brand, it was like, oh, okay, oh my God, like this is getting scary now. Like I I need income. Like I need, and TikTok pays out a little bit if things go really viral and stuff. You can make like a few $100 to $1,000 a month or whatever. Really depends on how much you're putting in and how much your audience is engaging with you. I would say it does really feel like a job in the sense of how much work you're putting in, how much structure you need, how much motivation you need, especially because you don't really have a boss. You don't really have somebody that's like, you need to be here at 8 a.m. and you can't leave until 5. It's not like that at all. I woke up at 11 o'clock in the morning and like, hopefully I'd pump some content out, but maybe I'll play Elden Ring all day. I have no idea. Like I can't like, I try to be as structured as I can, but you have those days. And if you stack too many of those days together, it's like, oh man, I haven't really done anything for a while. And I'm not like ticking all the boxes I need to tick for brands to notice me. So yeah, it can be a little bit stressful. I would say it is, even if you're not getting paid for it, I would still call it work. It's a job. Like it's you are putting quite a bit more effort in most of the time. I would say like 99%, unless you're like one of those pages that just like put somebody else's content up and you just like point at it and don't say anything. Like, yeah, that's not.
I see that all the time for like cyberpunk stuff. Like
I don't want to hate on other creators, but it's just like, dude, that's not content, man. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I got to draw a line somewhere and like, that's not it. But if you are, talking, even if you don't have a script or whatever, it's like, you're still editing, you're still reading the books, as if we want to talk about specifically the book sphere, you're reading, you're taking notes, you're thinking about things, you're, making videos, editing stuff. You're responding to comments, you're responding to DMs, you're curating your platform. And on Instagram, you have a grid where you can post and you have stories and stuff. And so, yeah, like it's a lot of things to do. So you can make money off of it. It's a thing. I've done it. It's like, unless you have like millions of followers, like I wouldn't quit your day job. I hate saying those words so much because like the other part of me is like, quit your fucking day job. Like, yeah, like if you don't have kids, like go, like just live in a box and just like, yeah, just have a ring light and like a refrigerator box and just go for it, man. Like, yeah, like, I mean, I really like it got pretty, man, if it wasn't, I've told my Patreon this, but I was like, dude, if it wasn't for like, you guys bailed me out of like, I was really struggling there for a little bit. And, I got this deal with Tor and that was like huge. And that helped quite a bit with everything. And I'm kind of in a much better place, but there was definitely like a year or so there where it was like, I was trying to do this full time and the money is just like, yeah, sometimes like, Amazon comes along and they're like, hey, how about like 3 videos? We'll cook you up. We'll give you some money for a little, like last you for a little bit. And then you don't hear anything for like 3 months. And it's just like, I think at one point I had to go get a job at a sushi restaurant. I was washing dishes for a little while at a sushi restaurant, just trying to like, I got to listen to audiobooks though. So that was rad. That was why I picked it. But anyway, it is, yeah. I mean, so I was like working while I was at work, I was like listening to audiobooks so that I could like still have content to make and still, you're thinking about it a lot, maybe not all the time, but I find myself thinking about what videos to make or, I just went through a breakup and a move and I went to Ireland spontaneously and like, just like a lot of, and it just so many different things happened to me in the last like 6 weeks that I barely put like any content out. And usually I was putting like 1 or 2 videos out a day. And now it's like, I'll put a podcast episode out or something. And then I like, don't put any TikTok videos out for like 2 weeks. And I'm just like in my house, just like, oh no, everybody hates me. Like, oh my God, no one's ever going to buy my books. Like, no one's never going to be relevant ever again. Oh no, this is it. My career is being flushed down the toilet. And then I like post a video and everyone's like, oh, hey.
Yeah. That's like yeah. I was saying before we started recording, it's like I went to the UK for like 10 days and then I came back and my son's like, oh, hey, it's you again. I'm like, well, fuck, man, I missed you guys too.
That's so funny.
I feel so loved.
Wouldn't that say that you're really a kick-ass dad though? I mean, like, that's what I would think, right? He's just like, oh, nice, dad's back.
Yeah. Then he got
oh no, dad's back.
Yeah. Then he got upset that my gift for him was underwear. And I'm like, yeah, just like, you're growing, man. You're destroying your clothes.
Yeah. Scottish underwear.
Yeah, Scottish underwear. All cotton, baby.
But that's my experience with getting paid. I try to be really transparent about it with my audience. Like, I typically don't say like how much, down to the dollar, like what I'm making and stuff. But with advertisements, like you really need to be super transparent and tell your audience, like, this is an ad. This is not my usual content. Like, I'm not trying to like sell you a thing like in a sneaky way where it's like, oh, these are my top 10 fantasy books and this random one just happens to be number 7 because they gave me some money. Like, don't ever do that kind of stuff. That's awful, and TikTok will come after you for that. But yeah, just trying to stay like as transparent as I can. But I don't like doing ads like at all. I really don't. There's never been an ad where I'm like, this is awesome. I'm so behind this product. Like, no,
I'm stoked about it. Yeah.
I had a totally different experience with all this. A totally different experience on our end. I get emailed. This isn't hyperbolic, 15 times a day for people wanting me to hawk stuff that's
totally.
Honestly, I don't see why they think anyone that reads the books I read would be interested in any of these products. Like, for example, the other day I got one about eyelash extensions. I'm like, okay. Anyway, so
they're looking at your eyelashes. They're like,
I guess I do have very ladylike lashes.
This guy can sell eyelashes.
yeah.
But for me, the question I get asked the most from a lot of people is, would you ever consider doing this full time? And I was always like, no, for a multitude of reasons. One, I don't want to turn this to a job because reading is my favorite thing in the world. Why would I want to hate reading? Because that's what it would become. It would become that. Also, I didn't go back to school at 37 and get my business degree to be a content creator. It's not what I did. I got a real job with benefits, with a steady income that's going to come every single week. Like talking about the stress of, oh God, I didn't get a sponsorship or I didn't get any commission this week. I never wanted that life. I work in risk analysis, so I would never, ever base my whole life off of this, because this tech bubble pop at any moment. At any moment, this could all sink overnight. I mean, they were just talking about, not to give you a stress attack or anything like that, but I mean, like 6 months ago, they were talking about, hey, TikTok could just be deleted. It could just go away, and I was like, right. That's why I would never, ever depend on these
kinds
of
things. Only in the States, though.
Yeah.
With me and the whole...
Evan.
Yeah.
I've done one ad the entire time I've been doing this. One sponsored ad. And it was from Audible because I said, that's something my audience would be interested in. That was the only ad I have ever done on the channel. Everything else, offers I'll get sometimes, I'll negotiate with them. I'm not going to hawk your product. I'm not going to make a dedicated video. I'm not going to do this, hey, click this link and I get 20% of your sales. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. What I'll do, because he did mention the gaming chairs. I did get them actually contact me and said, what I worked out was like, look, I will take a chair because they're nice and I could use a new one. I'm not gonna lie. I really could. They're really nice chairs. But I will show it in my book haul videos that I do, and I'll drop a link down below if they want to buy. That is all I'm doing. And they agreed. They agreed to send me the chair. I was like, all you gotta do is send me the chair. I don't want to enter no contract. And the thing is, like, after that, every month they want you to do it again. I don't need any more chairs. We got 3 chairs here. We don't need any chairs
again.
Okay?
You'll have them all around your dining table, just all gaming chairs.
Other thing for me, these are all negotiable. These people that contact you, it is negotiable. And with things like this, like, I will help you out. I want to help you out. I will show your books off or something like that. I have no problems helping out. Like, a lot of self-published authors have reached out and say, how much would it cost for me to have you review my book or something? I'm not going to do that. That's not what I do here. But I was like, if you want to send me a hard copy, I can show it off my book haul and drop a link down below. That's what I try to do, because in the end, I just want more people to read. That's my goal here. Money's nice, sure, but I have a real job for that. My wife works too. We're doing okay. So I don't feel like I need to do this to keep the lights on or anything like that. But for stuff like Broken Binding and now Folio Society, the partnership I entered into with them is, hey, we'll send you these beautiful books. Would you mind just showing them off on the screen? Yeah, of course. Of course. I would love to have these books. I was like, I mean, I would pay you, to do that. That's the kind of stuff that I would be like if I'm accepting like any gifts or anything like that. Because I've had people like, do you send these books to you unsolicited? I was like, they're not sending me any rules. They're just saying, hey, could you show these? So on Instagram, I will do like unboxings and stuff. That's the only thing that I do over there. And I don't think I've ever made a dime off of Instagram. I don't even know if you can make money off Instagram. I've got 10,000 followers. I don't even know how this would work, honestly, to make any money off there. But with YouTube, you guys know, I mean, people think that ad revenue on YouTube is good. It's not. Like when you have a live stream and they think, oh, I'm going to give this guy $50 as a super chat. Thank you. We get like $10 of that. YouTube keeps the rest. Yeah. So is the ad sharing decent? Sure. I mean, you can look at something like Rumble, which obviously book content isn't really what they're looking for over there. They pay their content creators a lot more than YouTube does. They just don't have quite. It's like Netflix versus Apple TV, where, hey, that's a good thing, but they don't have the stranglehold that Netflix has. YouTube's got a stranglehold on the market, obviously. So they can take more from ad revenue. That's why all the gaming streamers left and went to Twitch, because YouTube was keeping so much of the money of the super chats. That's how they made it. So yeah, I never wanted the stress of doing this as a job, because I didn't want to be something that I hated. And I know there are people who do that. I get those ad sponsorships all the time, and I could take some of them. But I always said, I'm not going to take an ad sponsorship unless I think it's something that my audience would be interested in. Obviously, most people audiobook now. Audible was one that I thought I could get down with. But outside of that, I'm always like, I'll show your product off, but I'm not going to hawk it. I'm not going to sell it. Like I said, I will show it, but that's it. I'm not going to tell anybody to buy it or pressure them or say, click this link.
Now everyone in your family gets gaming chairs for Christmas.
I have 3. I have 3 gaming chairs. I have one here. We put one. My wife got one, and then I've got just like a third one. I'm just like, I guess my oldest can have it when he's ready for it. I don't know. He's ready for it. But I've told him, like, yeah, but thank you. I don't need any more chairs.
Dad, I'm ready for my gaming chairs.
They're really nice, though.
But I think like Evan, you're mentioning Patreon. I think Patreon, because that's basically like the main monetization that MJ and I get for the
Dude,
podcast.
I had like 20,000 subs before I even started Patreon, because I felt bad about it. Like, I don't know. I got so many people being like, oh, we're not going to pay you to make content. I was like,
well, then don't join the Patreon. That's my thing. Is it's like we talked a lot before we launched the Patreon to make sure that we felt like the tiers we were offering had benefits that were like worth paying for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's if people are gonna be salty about it, Mike, then just then tell them don't.
I do. I mean, people feel that, because when we take a family vacation every summer, and someone was like, "This is why I quit donating to your Patreon, because you're going on vacations all the time." I'm like, once a year we go on a family vacation.
Enjoy your life, Michael. You're not allowed.
And the thing was, I looked this user up and I was like, dude, you gave me $3 one time. $3 didn't send me to Mexico, man.
You are supposed to be shackled to that desk reading your books, Mike.
Shot. That's all I got you.
Wow.
Single tequila shot.
You know, you're going to have people out there like that, but most people you'd be surprised. They just want to help you out. They appreciate what you do. There's people like me. I don't know. When I pick up my Fire TV remote now, I usually go to YouTube before I go to any of the streaming services, because a lot of the stuff I watch is on YouTube now.
Same.
And I think that a lot of people treat it like that, and they're like, I want to help this person out,
Yeah.
So it's not a bad thing to open a Patreon, I don't think.
No, not at all.
Especially
if you're putting content on there.
Yeah, right.
Like fill it with some content that people wouldn't normally get. I mean, like that's like, like how buying things works. Like it's just like you, like I mean, I'm just saying, like it's like if it's like a thing that you want, then you give them a little bit of money.
I see people getting so salty about others trying to make money off this, man. I'm like, dude, get your money. If you're good at something, man, get paid for it. I mean, I have got no problem with that. You want to
I mean, I've gotten paid for all kinds of things.
That's cool. You do that. I'm not going to do it. But hey, you do it. Get your money, man.
Yeah,
get your
fucking
40
bag.
hours a week
Seriously.
right now. No.
I used to feel bad for doing ads, but like it's like, man, because I didn't go to college. Like I just been working in restaurants and warehouses and stuff, and it's like if I can pull off like being my own boss and talking about books for a living, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
oh sure, I wish someone would come off me like
day,
a salary and benefits and 401k to do it. I wish they would. No one's done that yet.
Yeah, I don't have kids, so I'm definitely like a lot more able to kind of just like like if I get sick, like I can just figure it out.
Yeah, life would be much better without a mortgage, I think, probably.
Yeah, I mean the money that I'm dumping into rent is like, I wish it was a mortgage.
I was gonna say, as a renter, I don't know that that's true, Mike.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah,
especially
but I can't call someone to
now.
fix my microwave. Yeah, it's really gnarly. But yeah, I mean,
that is the nice part.
With ads, like I never got really any gnarly comments about it, because there was a period there where I was probably doing like 1 or 2 ads a month, and every now and then I'd get someone that was like, wow, like this is you're doing a lot of ads or like whatever. But it's just like, man, I'm doing what I love for a living, And if that means that you have to see me kind of like talk about some upcoming like special edition thing, right? Whatever it is that I'm talking about, like you can scroll past, you know,
I
you
was
don't
gonna
have to
say,
look at it. Like you
that's all
can
they have
scroll
to
past
do.
and like,
Oh my
so
God, how many comments I get about this video had a lot of ads on it. I'm like, well, talk to YouTube. Oh, I'm sorry you had to wait 5 seconds to press skip ads. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I because like it, you know, it is work, and you know, it's like it's not the same kind of work that I was doing in restaurants or when I was working, you know, 9-hour days at warehouses and stuff. Like that was a different kind of work, but I personally don't want to do that anymore. Like I want to talk about books for a living, and I want to write books for a living, and I was able to write books for a living because I had the time from being able to talk about books for a living. That's how I was able to write books. I mean, I was also writing the books like in break rooms at work, and you know, it is whatever free time I could find. But when I was able to quit my job, like yeah, I had a little bit more time to write books, and then I went on submission, and now I don't have I don't really ever have to do ads, you know. So, no ads now. Like, just give me a little bit.
hey, have you gotten the VPN offers yet on your channel? Hawk our VPN yet?
No. I mean, you know, every man has his price, so send them my way.
NordVPN.
No, hey, have you gotten these yet? Because I feel like once you get about 2,000 subs or more, it seems like you start getting the VPN offers.
Not the VPN, but I have gotten some questionable products that might be scams.
I tell you, someone who just got hacked recently, don't click anything.
Nope.
If it looks suspicious, don't open it. Don't even look at it. Just spam.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, you look at their email addresses. If it says, like, I got one recently, you could tell it was a scam because they're like, oh, we're from Evian Water, and we want to pay you this much money. I'm like, well, this looks good. And then you look at the email address, and it's like .el something. I'm like, yeah, it would be .evian, wouldn't it? Yeah. So I just delete. But I'm so paranoid now after that hacking that I'm just like,
oh, I would be too, man. Yeah,
call me on the phone.
I will turn down
is,
I won't do AI stuff. Like I won't do your weird like AI company like chatbot thing or like what I don't want to do any of that. Like just no. I don't know what it is. It's just that feels weird. You know what I mean? Like,
I hope every
like
time I get a sponsorship offer, it's Audible or it's Spotify or hell, it's some coffee brand that I really like or something. But they don't seem to be interested. It's all like stuff.
The AI ones usually come with like, oh, do you want to like have like AI generated clips, AI like editing podcast, all that kind of stuff. And just like fuck off. Like,
I get a lot of the hey, I've looked your channel up and then you can do this if you let me set up your SEO and all this stuff. And I was like, bye.
I get like one of those a month.
Or someone who wants to be your professional editor. Yeah, that's
yes.
Yeah.
I feel like the worst would be like, you're an author. Like, do you want like AI generated like fiction content? Be like,
say try app dating as an author. That you get every third guy that you go out with is like, oh, I'm trying to write a book with AI. Like, oh, you.
It's so sexy.
I hear people tell me a lot of quit using AI for your thumbnails. I'm like, I don't even know how to do that.
Awful. Don't do it, Evan.
Don't do it.
The worst. Don't do it. Or just hide that because you'll get so many people that are like, I have this great idea.
I was gonna say like mostly like women seem to be like really pretty like emotionally intelligent or socially intelligent enough not to say something like that. But
that's
I feel like
fair. That's fair. You're in a different situation.
Yeah, you're gonna get the weird messages.
Guys just sort of traverse the line between like regular and like caveman pretty easily.
Ping-ponging back and forth.
Yeah.
Oh my god. All right. I'm gonna corral us. I'm gonna bring us back to books. So let's talk a little bit about the books that are the center of the content creation before we, wind down here. What a couple of you have talked a little bit about not agreeing to like review when someone sends it, right? Like, oh, we review my book for X amount of dollars. But like there are relationships where you're communicating with authors or, receiving ARCs from publishers or authors or, maybe conducting interviews with creators, things like that. Just kind of, can each of you speak to this dynamic and, how you navigate it, especially if you do critical reviews on your channel, right? Like, does that change how you feel about interacting with the authors? Does it make anything awkward? Like, just how does that play out for you guys?
I tell everybody that sends me, if you want to send me something, that's fine, no problem. But I'm not making you a single promise that I'm even going to read the book, much less review it. So that's why I say I always offer that I'll show it off for you. I'll drop a link for you. But as far as like review and stuff like that, for me, I have had a thing where I will mingle with some authors or I'll talk to them a bit first. Like if Ryan Cahill wasn't such a nice guy, I don't know if I ever would have read Bound and the Broken. But he's such a nice guy, and we talked a lot before I ever even picked one up. And because of that, or Christopher Rocchio, him and I emailed back and forth for 3 months about Dune before I was like, you know what, I'm going to give this guy's book a chance. And now he's a rock star out of nowhere. I'm happy for him. But I'm just saying that, like, with me, I build those relationships first. And I feel like if some of these authors I'm interested in are going to, come down off high and mingle with us commoners, that pushes me to want to read your book quicker. Because I feel like you care about your audience, whereas I get the other ones that, as soon as I don't read their book, was right when they send it to me, they like drop off my Discord and block me on Twitter, because I didn't read their book. Even after I told them I probably got so much stuff to read, there's probably a chance I won't, But
I sent you a copy of Mushroom Blues. I'm just going to delete
I have it because my wife called it a Hobbit book because it was about mushrooms. So.
It's a Hobbit. It's very, very much not a Hobbit book.
Yeah, I think it's actually more like cyberpunk. Yeah.
But that did just make me go mushrooms in Kevin's voice. So I feel that.
But I don't really do. I don't want to say I give criticism in my reviews. I do, but I do it. You don't have to be a jerk to do criticism. I don't think you can do constructive criticism. I am terrified of hurting anyone's feelings, really. So I feel like if it's full on like negative review, I usually just won't do it. I'll talk about it in my weekly update for a minute, but I won't do a dedicated review just trashing a book, because I did that one time with Amakatsu, and because I had said what my whole Halloween schedule was going to be and everything I was going to review, and then I read the book and hated it, and I had to do a negative review, and I felt like sick. I was like, oh God, what if she sees this? So that's why people are like, oh, you love everything you read. I was like, no, I only review everything that I love. There's a difference. I don't usually review
never ever like
books that I hate, because I don't want to feel like this is someone's livelihood. I don't want to just sit here and just trash your book. And because as much as I tell people this is how I felt about it, I want you to read it, make up your own mind. A lot of people are going to be like, well, I am in lockstep with you and what your thoughts are. If you didn't like it, I'm not going to like it. So I'm just not going to read it. Yeah. So I just usually won't even review it if it's something I feel pretty negatively on.
And don't tag the authors.
Someone
tagged me on Twitter, like DNF'd in chapter 8. I was like, thanks for tagging me. And
that
made me feel real great.
No, I'll talk to them sometimes. Like,
you don't have to tell me right to my internet face. Like, right.
I've got some that I feel like I'm on a personal level, like with Jay Kristoff. I feel like we're on a kind of a personal level, and we were supposed to hang out, and then I got COVID, of course. I just told him, hey, the review's going up today. And he's like, oh, sweet. When you do, tag me and I'll retweet it. So it gets something like that. But I never.
If it's a good review, you can tag the author.
I just usually try not to at all. I'm like, if they want to see it and they want to retweet it or something like that, or point it out somehow, cool. But I'm just no.
Yeah. Kay, what about you?
Very similar to Mike. I learned the hard way to get to know authors a little bit more before accepting review copies, which is very generous for authors to send. But I have had some interactions where, I would, if I didn't enjoy a book, I would message the author privately and just say, hey, this one wasn't for me. I really appreciate it. And in those instances, they were ebooks, and they would come back very unhappy that was the case. Like, oh, that's never happened. I don't understand where you're coming from, but I guess thanks. And those kind of interactions, well, I understand this is your baby, I completely understand that. But in those instances, I was just like, all right, well, time to be a little bit more selective, maybe get to know people a little bit better.
MJ, the thin skin that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Well, they're learning now, I suppose,
Yeah.
It's hard, right? It's one of those lessons. Like, even when I started making a channel, I did it when I was mentally prepared to deal with the negative comments. But when it comes to review copies, and now I do less arcs because the time to dedicate to reading them, reviewing them prior to, because a lot of expectation is to do that prior to release date.
It's time sensitive with the arcs. That's what's so stressful. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have had some authors be like, read it whenever. Great. that's amazing because that's probably what's going to happen is I'll read it whenever. But it's tricky because you know, in my position, I read a lot of indie, a lot of self-published. I want to read these books. I want to be able to give them, you know, a solid review in one form or another. And when it comes to critiquing, I will usually go on the side of, this is what didn't work for me. Might work for someone else who likes these things, but you know, it's not to say that it wasn't done well. It just wasn't to my taste in reading, and that's where it fell flat. But I'll like Mike. I don't often post negative reviews because I don't like trashing a book. If it's not for me, it's not for me. And, you know, I've had people reach out where it's very clear they've never watched a video on my channel because oh, you know, I love your channel. It's so amazing. You know, I have this book I'm publishing. It's a romantasy, some spicy stuff. And I'm like, you don't watch my channel.
Yeah,
I get that email.
I get from publishers. Like I've emailed publishers back saying, don't send me romantasy stuff. And they still do.
Yeah, I get that email, Kay, at least 15 times a day. Oh, big fan of your channel. I love your content and stuff. And then they'll pick one random video and be like, I was watching this one, blah, blah, blah. And then it turns into, hey, this is my book. And it's about this, this, and this. I'm like, wow, it's not even anything that I would read, but cool.
Yeah.
You know? Tell me again about how big a fan
of Sarah J. Maas.
Yeah.
So I try and filter it because you can tell who's being genuine and who's not. And the disgenuine ones I will try and filter out. But honestly, I think it's better to do what you can, because when you start saying, hey, I'm accepting review copies, trust me, you're going to get a lot of people emailing you in a short period of time, and you're not going to be able to read fast enough unless you read like 300 books a year, which no, it's not going to happen.
I wish I could just clone myself and have one go to work and one stay home and read books all day. But
there you go.
Right. When you figure out that technology, let me know.
I would make the clone go to work, by the way. I'm reading the book.
Sure. But yeah, I don't ask for money for any of the reviews that I do. I don't make a penny off of it either. So that's where my mental health, my stress levels matter more. And I try and prioritize my enjoyment as best as I can while also providing quality, I hope quality reviews at the end of the day.
Yeah. You want to do something nice for me. If you have like a special edition of your book, you can send it to me. That's I'll take something like that before, you know, I'm going to let anybody pay me to do it. I don't have a lot of success with ARCs though, with publishers. It's like, it's just become such a fight, and it's just like a hassle. I've just gotten to the point where like, if you want to send it to me, cool, but I'm not going to beg you for it.
Right.
So
yeah, it'll come out eventually.
When I had Pierce Brown on the channel, and he's basically like, I think you've sold more books for me than my publisher has, but yet I couldn't get an ARC of the newest book. That he had to send me a personal one from his home address.
Wow.
Because the publisher wouldn't send me one. So I was just like, I'm done with that. It's very frustrating.
And that's Pierce Brown. Wow, there's no hope for us mid-listers, is there?
Right. So from what the information I've gathered from a lot of authors, they're just frustrated with it as weird. They're like, dude, they should just be giving ARCs away like water. I mean, who's going to sit? Is someone really going to sit there and scan every single page and release it like a week before it comes out? They're like, come on, man, just send these review copies out to people. But I do know that. And Jay Kristoff kind of pointed this out that, you know, people that got physical ARCs and they're selling them on eBay for like $3,000 before they come out. I get that. I understand that part of it. But it's just, I don't know. How do you get on like a list to where you're just like, you get to get auto approved for some of these? You think that at some point it would get there. But the worst I had was Simon & Schuster. I think I'm on their no-no list now because I got sassy with them. I was a big Stephen King fan, so obviously I wanted Stephen King, and they basically were like, oh, we don't send out ARCs of Stephen King stuff. I'm like, wow, really weird, because I'm on Instagram right now, and I see like people with like 12 followers that got the new Stephen King book, but I can't get one. Cool, thanks a lot. I was like, at least you could have been honest with me. I think I got blocked. You know? So yeah, it's a hassle, and I'm just like, again, I feel like any authors that want me to, they're going to make sure that I get it more so than the publisher will.
Yeah.
Evan, what about you?
To add on top of that, so one of the ways that I've managed to make this whole thing not feel like a job that I wouldn't want to do is that I am just a mood reader first and foremost. Like, I just read what I'm in the mood to read. I stop reading whatever I'm not in the mood to read. I I can't. Like I it's just whatever I feel like, and that helps quite a bit. On the side of things where it's like I don't feel like I have to read something where I'm being forced to. It just helps quite a bit. And as far as reviewing goes, if I'm reviewing something for like somebody that I know, which happens now and then, my whole thing is like I try to be as informative about the book in an objective way as I can when I'm doing a review. I'm doing a 1 or 2 minute review, right? So typically what I'll do is do a little bit of an intro, and I'll just explain like I'm talking to one of my friends, like, this is what this book is about. I just finished it. This is what you can expect from it. And then I'll kind of dip into things that, reasons why I finished it, reasons why I really enjoyed it. And I will throw in every now and then kind of like this one felt a little bit, heavy on the political intrigue sometimes. So if you're into that, that's cool. But if you're not into that, so I try to frame any critiques that I have in a sort of kind of like, this is what I thought about this, but if you're a fan of that kind of thing, then that's great. And this is for you. So typically I like very fast paced books. And so I will critique pacing quite frequently, actually. So if something has a lot of political intrigue and is very slow paced, there's got to be something else about it that I really, really like. And I will finish books that have those things. But then because there was something about that book that I really liked, I'll kind of stick to that and then mention the things I didn't like in passing. Because if I finished a book, it's because like I did like it, and so if I didn't finish a book, I think I messed around with that when I first started making content. I was like, well, if I don't finish a book, I got to explain why I didn't finish it. And it just felt weird because I was just like, why am I going online and telling people why I didn't finish something? Like, it's just like, if you don't hear about it from me, I either haven't read it or I did try it and it just wasn't really my thing. So I'd really much rather spend my time building authors up. I'd rather spend my time encouraging people to read things that I can speak articulately about and I can speak with some passion about. And I also try to stay as consistent as I possibly can when I'm reviewing things, with communicating to my audience the things that I typically like and the things that I typically don't like. So my audience knows Evan doesn't really vibe super hard with deep political intrigue. So if he says there was a lot of political intrigue, he's just saying that thing that he doesn't really like in books very often. I don't want to be the pitchfork of book reviews. Like I know that I could get way more views if I did that. And you all know that too. You all know that you could get way more views if you came out swinging and you were just like, this is the biggest piece of shit book I've ever read in my entire life.
Fucking,
and
right?
that's
They're
not,
just
it's just not a
bragging on
way
books,
to do it.
Even
like,
on YouTube, like clickbaity thumbnails, and like, fuck
it's just
off.
not,
I'm just not
it's not the way to go about doing it. And not because like you're going to piss off an author or whatever, but it's just like spreading negativity in an artistic community. Why would you do that? Like
because they get 100,000 views. That's why
say the
man,
views.
but
There's a lot of views in it.
But like, why would you, even if you could sustain that kind of negativity, why would you want to, man? Like, why would you want that to be like
I'm with you.
what you're day in, day out? Like, this is already enough work. Why be
like,
negative?
There's people who
about
made
it?
a career off of just like bashing new
Trashing
Star Wars stuff. I mean, it gets crazy traffic. It gets crazy traffic. I'm like, I want to spread positivity, so I try not to do that. I mean, even when I don't like something, I'll still talk about, hey, here's the things I did like about it,
Yeah,
but you know what's funny about Star Wars?
I love to love things, right?
I rewatched the new trilogy and I found myself really enjoying Force Awakens, and I really liked the Last Jedi, the second one. The Rian Johnson one, and I thought I hated it, and I watched it again, and I was like, "Oh shit!" This
but
actually,
it was like such
good.
a cultural brainwashing kind of moment,
right? But okay, so episode 9 is like pretty bad, though.
It's shit.
That's kind of objectively bad. Yeah. And I tried to be very positive about it.
Yeah, I tried.
I'm not gonna touch this one because we'll be here until
we could do a separate one, Mike. But anyway,
all the negative comments start coming in.
That's why I don't talk about it, because I will get negative.
We can, but anyway, the thing is just like, we are all part of an art community, and an art community has so many different aspects of it. There are the artists, there are the people that support the artists, there are the people that absorb the art, and all of the people that are doing all those things are also doing all those other things, so like we are, we the people that write the books are also reading a bunch of books, and so like, now that I've written some books, now that MJ's written some books, now that Adrian's written some books, it's like, now I know that when an author is in the process of doing that, they're not just like, la, 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 drink my lemonade, like write a book. No, they're stressed out. They're not having a good time. It's mostly doldrums, and it's mostly, imposter syndrome. And it's mostly like, I don't know why would they do that? Why would they ever do something like that? That's the worst possible thing I could do right now. And so when I don't know if this sounds like I'm minimizing it too much, but whenever I'm reading a book and something in it doesn't jive with me, I'm like, well, it got through the first revision, it got through the second revision, it got through the 15th revision, it got through an editor, it got through all of these things, it got through beta reads, and they kept it in the book, right? So this is not jiving with me, but it stayed in the book for a reason because the artist kept it in the book.
It's here for someone, just not me.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not for me. But obviously, there's the thing that I really like to nerd out on, and I think maybe all of you might agree with this. I like nerding out on semantics about fantasy books. I like nerding out about like if Darth Vader and Dumbledore fought, like which one of them would win. Like I can start getting negative in like those kinds of conversations because I feel like being negative from within is a lot better than being negative from outside. You don't want to punch down. You don't want to come at the fandom and say like this thing inherently is bad. But what you can do is be like, okay, so at the end of the 7th Dark Tower book, like what was that? Like what's going on here? Like what do you think? And Mike, we could have an entire podcast about that. But like I'm just saying it's so
make the date. Fun. I'll be there, Bubba.
I got thoughts and they're all positive, and people hate that I had positive thoughts about it. But that's the fun part is like now we're not here. We're not trashing the Dark Tower and like the quote unquote quality of it or whatever. We're not talking about that. We're talking about this moment and how we felt and what it means to the rest of what we read and what it meant to these characters and what it means to the themes presented and how those reflect on us. And like, that's the real conversation we should be having. Not like, is this objectively good? Like, that's such a boring conversation. Like it's so like, are books as good as they used to be? Like, oh my dude, overrated, don't even get me started. But like, these kinds of
is fantasy dying, you guys?
See, that's like the clickbait stuff that does get a lot of the death. But it's like there's so much fun to be had with talking about this stuff. It's an endless amount of fun, an endless amount of fascination. These are made up secondary worlds in most of the books that we're reading. Why would you like shit on the prose? Ugh, get out of here. Who gives a shit? Like, what does it matter if they use too many commas? Like, if it's really taking you out, just
stop reading.
I don't know. That's I see those. And if anybody that really frequents the fantasy, I'm going to kick myself later for talking about this, but the fantasy subreddit, I love you guys. Can we stop talking about prose, please? Can we please? Like, I just like. And I know
this is Evan's PSA.
I'd rather laugh than go to Reddit, man. Oof.
I like Reddit a lot. I love the fantasy subreddit because sometimes there's just like these amazing recommendations and such good conversations happening. But like once a week, somebody's like, which writer has the best prose? And it's just like, dude, like this is literally the 500th time somebody's posted this. And invariably it's like, well, Brandon Sanderson's is extremely wooden. And I don't like Brandon Sanderson. You know who's got the best is Guy Gavriel K. It's Guy Gavriel K is amazing, and it's just like the same conversation over and over again. But like what I'm usually focusing on, especially when I'm in a mood to review something, is like, how was I thinking about this book when I wasn't reading it? Yeah. Like when I woke up in the morning, instead of getting on my phone, did I sit on my couch and read that? Because that's a banger ass book right there. If it got me off of Instagram Reels, like that was a good book.
So
like,
it's good.
Right. Like what conflict does this character have? Like how does the setting like inform that conflict? Like are they a different person at the end of this book? Like what did it make me think about? Was I riveted by a certain revelation or something like that? Like that stuff is so much more interesting to talk about in my opinion. So yeah, like I said, negatively reviewing stuff and trashing stuff. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a paragon. I have totally thought about it. Like I've totally read stuff and been like, man, I could tear this thing a new one right now.
Oh, sure. I've thought that plenty of times. I'm not going to make that video, but I've thought, man, I can shred this. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying like every book.
The furthest I went was where I was holding the book up in a thumbnail and going, That was the most that I had done as far as like being like just overly negative about a book. So
You do have wonderfully expressive thumbnails, I will say.
thank you. I try not to get ridiculous about it, but sometimes it's
You just want to have some fun.
Yeah, sometimes you got to go out there,
Well, I think we will wrap this up there on this note of like, just have fun with the things that you're reading. Just have fun with the content that you're creating. Don't dump on somebody. Nobody wants to just have their day ruined by your just heap of shit. Nobody
Put it in
wants
the
to.
group chat.
No,
Keep it to the group chat.
See, to me, I'm all like, really, that person really thinks I'm going to read that comment and be like, oh, you ruined my day. I'm like, dude, you're a freaking loser, man. Are you really going to say that shit to somebody you don't even know?
What if you met them and they were actually super cool, though?
Then maybe they'd be cooler if
They're
they quit.
not super cool.
And maybe they get off the internet
They
and
wouldn't
go
be
do
leaving Instagram comments like that.
You're
Right,
totally right.
exactly.
No.
It's like, really, my thoughts
Damn,
on
this
this
guy's like a
random
doctor and
sci-fi
an
book from
astronaut?
1965 had you that mad? That
Hey, man.
mad?
Yeah.
If someone is a doctor and an astronaut, there's a possibility they're still an
pretty badass.
asshole. So
Maybe.
just because you're a doctor and an
Leaving
astronaut doesn't
mean
automatically
comments.
make you an awesome person.
When do they have time to leave these YouTube comments if they're a doctor and an astronaut?
In space,
In the
obviously.
middle of surgery on the
I was
ISS.
just going to say,
Between
I do not
space
want them doing
surgeries.
surgery.
Maybe they were
Doing
stranded in
space surgery,
space,
bud.
or is that too soon?
Oh my
Oh,
god.
no.
Nice. Nice.
Well, everyone.
Now that I just got you like demonetized, let's get out of here.
I don't give a shit.
Took us like an hour and a half to go completely off the rails. I'm proud of
Yes.
us.
We
I
did
think we
it.
did
bud.
pretty good.
We did it.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, have fun with the content that you're creating. Have fun with the books that you're reading. Try not to be too negative. If you are going to be negative, just keep it to yourself because nobody else really cares. Positivity is
negative,
where it's
sir.
at.
No.
Funny. You're gonna
Just
be negative,
keep
be
it to
funny.
yourself. Yeah, exactly. Turn your negativity and spin it into funny. That's the best way to go about it. But yeah, Evan, Mike, and Kayla, thank you all so much for doing.
Thanks so much for the invite. I appreciate it.
It's
Thank
been
you.
an
Yeah, it was a
absolute
blast.
pleasure. And hopefully this panel inspires someone out there to take the leap into doing content creation.
Always.
Whatever form
Do it.
that may take. So I'll ask each of you where people can find you online. So we'll start with you, Kayla.
Yeah, you can find me at Kay's Hidden Shelf on pretty much any platform. Luckily, that wasn't taken.
Got that covered.
Yeah.
Love it.
And Mike?
I am Mike's Book Reviews on YouTube. My show my age by showing that my AOL screen name from back when I was a very, very young man was like Led Zeppelin, and then 1978, the year I was born. You can find me there on Instagram and Twitter under that handle. I have a Facebook page for Mike's Book Reviews, but I rarely ever go to it. I mean, who does at this point? But yeah, you'll usually be able to find it. And I have a Discord that's got like 10,000 users, so if you like that kind of madness, please come on over. I dropped a link in the description of every single video. Love to have you there.
I'll have all the links down below in this one as well. And it's telling that we haven't mentioned Facebook until the very end. So just,
They're one step behind MySpace at this point. Yeah.
And Evan?
So I'm on Facebook.
And nowhere else. I
kidding.
quit TikTok. I quit Instagram.
No, you can find me at book_reviews_kill. That's on Instagram and TikTok. And I also have the Book Reviews Kill podcast, which is on Spotify and all the other places that podcasts are. And also do a podcast called Good on Paper with Daniel Green. That's on Daniel's second channel, and it's on everywhere that podcasts are as well. And yeah, look out for pre-orders for my new book, Angie Kills a King, which comes out in May of next year.
Yes.
Awesome. I can't wait to see the cover for that. You can also follow SFF Addicts everywhere except Facebook at SFF Addicts Pod. Or you can follow me at Adrian M. Gibson. You can also pick up my book, Mushroom Blues, in ebook, paperback, and hardcover. MJ, what about you?
Yeah, you can find me across all the main socials, including Facebook at MJ Kuhn Books. I only update my Facebook when my mom goes, "Oh, can you post that to Facebook so I can share it?"
It's only for her.
I really have it just for pictures of the kids for the grandparents. That's really all the reason.
And then I go, "Okay, I'll update it." But yeah, so that's where you can find me. Also, you can buy my books wherever books are sold. Among Thieves, Thick as Thieves.
Yeah.
Feed my cat. Thanks.
Feed the cat. Buy my book, Feed My Children. Thank you, everybody, for listening. For now, keep reading, keep imagining, keep creating. Pump that beautiful content out into the world, and we will see you next time on SFF Addicts.